My name is Alex, and this is the story of the night I found myself trapped in an elevator, plummeting into an abyss I never knew existed. It started like any other evening. I had just finished a late shift at the office and was eager to get home. The building was eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that wraps around you and makes your footsteps echo unnaturally loud. I pressed the button for the elevator, impatiently tapping my foot as I waited for it to arrive. When the doors finally opened, I stepped inside and pressed the button for the ground floor. The elevator jolted slightly before beginning its descent. I leaned against the wall, rubbing my eyes, exhaustion weighing heavily on me. A few floors down, the lights flickered. I glanced up, momentarily distracted from my drowsiness. The flickering continued, the intervals between light and dark growing shorter. I shrugged it off as a typical building quirk until the elevator shuddered violently, throwing me off balance. The lights went out completely, plunging me into pitch darkness. I fumbled for my phone, the only source of light I could think of. As I turned on the flashlight, I saw the emergency button and pressed it repeatedly, but there was no response. Panic began to set in. The elevator started moving again, but something was wrong. The sensation wasn't the smooth, controlled descent I was used to. Instead, it felt like the elevator was falling, accelerating faster and faster. The walls seemed to close in, the air growing colder and thicker, making it hard to breathe. I tried to calm myself, taking deep breaths, but my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst out of my chest. I checked my phone, desperate to call for help, but there was no signal. I was completely isolated, trapped in a metal box hurtling towards God knows where. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The falling sensation intensified, and my ears popped painfully. I screamed for help, banging on the doors, but there was no response, no sign that anyone could hear me. The temperature continued to drop, and I could see my breath fogging in front of me. Just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the elevator jolted to a stop. The sudden stillness was disorienting. The lights flickered back on, dim and eerie. I rushed to the doors, prying them open with all my strength. They gave way slowly, revealing a dark, narrow corridor. I stepped out cautiously, the silence almost deafening. The corridor stretched out into darkness, no end in sight. I glanced back at the elevator, but the doors had closed behind me, sealing my way back. With no other choice, I started walking, the sound of my footsteps echoing unnervingly in the narrow space. As I ventured further, the walls seemed to pulse with a faint, almost imperceptible rhythm, like a heartbeat. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, making me question my sanity. The air was thick and oppressive, filled with a metallic tang that clung to my throat. Then I heard it, a low, guttural whisper, like a voice carried on the wind. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakably malicious. I quickened my pace, my heart racing, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, a figure appeared ahead of me, blocking the path. It was tall, its features obscured by darkness. I stopped, paralyzed with fear. The figure moved closer, and I could see its eyes, cold, empty voids that seemed to suck the light out of the corridor. I turned and ran, the whispers now a cacophony of malevolent voices. My breath came in ragged gasps as I sprinted back towards the elevator, praying it would somehow be there, waiting to take me back to safety. But when I reached the spot where the elevator should have been, there was nothing but a solid wall. Despair washed over me. I sank to my knees, clutching my head, the whispers clawing at my sanity. The figure closed in, its presence suffocating. Just as it reached out to touch me, everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, surrounded by concerned faces. They told me I had been found unconscious in the building's basement, near the elevator stuck between floors. They said I must have hallucinated due to stress and exhaustion. But I know what I experienced was real. The whispers still haunt my dreams, and sometimes when I'm alone in the dark, I can feel those cold, empty eyes watching me, waiting for the moment I'll be trapped again in that endless descent.